something with that company in order for that company, you know, I mean, in order for people and in order for the company to really be able to be used in the capacity you want it to be used, then you have to be able to understand what the company is being used for and manipulate it accordingly. So we're going to have to wait and see how this really affects IBM as far as you know, acquisition. As far as acquisition. So now we're coming up on a break right now, and we're coming up on a break right now. So after the break, we're going to talk about those poor guys at HTC. You know, it just doesn't seem to be getting any better for that company right now. We're going to talk about that coming up right now after the break. So just stay tuned right here to Tech Pulse. We'll be right back.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
All right, and we're back once again. That was a short break. You know, I got so excited talking about it, I missed the break, you know, but it's all right. You know what I'm saying? That's how it is when you're dealing with technology. When you're excited about technology, I mean, you know, time just flies right by. And speaking of being excited about technology, I know Devin B, and you and I, we talked about this last week when we were saying about how HTC, you know, how HTC was going to survive with their whole lawsuit, executives leaving, executives running out of the building, probably because they knew this lawsuit with Nokia was coming. You know, and Devin is saying that there's generally, when you're in that corporate world, generally there's no, as far as the upper level CEOs, they generally know what's happening as far as takeovers or as far as lawsuits. And you won't have that level of, that many top level people leaving a company and then hearing later, oh, Nokia is suing you for patent infringement, for 50 different patent infringements, and they expect you to cease and desist as well as pay damages. You know, it's like, okay, now we understand why a lot of those CEOs left. Well, it just doesn't seem to be getting any better. According to another report by Bloomberg, the chief operating officer has stepped down at HTC. The chief officer, Matthew Costello, stepped down after less than 3 years at the Taiwan's biggest smartphone maker company, even amid their slumping sales that have pushed down its shares about 76% over the past 2 years. Now, Fred Liu, who is president of engineering and operations, took on Costello's responsibility in an expanded role covering operations, quality, sales, operations, and services. He has to do triple, quintuple duty now, because remember, a bunch of other CEOs walked out just a month ago, and now their COO, the Chief Operating Officer, just yesterday decided, you know, he's stepping down. I don't know whether reports say he, you know, he was forced out or anything like that, but they say he's stepping down, and Fred Liu, they're saying, is going to step into his position, but not just step into his position. He's going to have an expanded position covering multiple areas because of the shortage, you know, that they have. And Liu said in an email to his employees, and this was obtained by Bloomberg News, he said in an email, Costello will stay on as chief advisor after moving to Europe, according to an email that he said, and confirmed both moves in an email response to the Bloomberg organization. Now, HTC, which posted a 98% drop in net income last quarter, has had at least four, as we told you, four senior executives depart this company over the recent times, recent months, and including its finance, design, and marketing chiefs. Its flagship HTC One handset released in the U.S. In April is key to the company's attempt to rebuild their global brand and revenue growth for this company. Now, the COO stepping down. Some people are saying, according to an analyst, they say that this CEO stepping down might be a good thing for HTC. You know, I mean, I don't know how it could be a good thing unless they saw that he was part of the problem or stuff like that. But for a company that posted a 98% drop in net revenue, you know, they can't bring anyone else in, you know, into the company because of all of these layoffs. And now that people see that their company is being tied up in litigations with Nokia for 50 patent infringements, you know, that Nokia claims that they are using their camera. I mean, I just don't know what the future of HTC is going to be. I mean, their stock fell in Taipei trading. They said 0.9% yesterday, and which extended the decline to 5.2%, compared with a gain for other companies on their same stock market in Taipei. And the smartphone maker will use the early success of the HTC One to boost marketing campaigns and stuff like that. That's what the company is saying their next move is. But I mean, this is just yet another blow in my opinion, for HTC. Now, analysts are saying that this guy needed to leave the company. You know, it's a good move that he stepped down and stuff like that. And like I said, maybe it is. You know, I'm not saying it's a bad move because I don't know what the guy did or didn't do. Maybe he was a poison apple in there. All I know is that right now HTC is just hemorrhaging. They're hemorrhaging, and it just doesn't seem to be any slowdown to their hemorrhage. And we don't even know, and this is without Nokia, the lawsuit that Nokia has with them, that's without it really being fulfilled in the courts yet. You see what I'm saying? They have just filed now for this patent infringement. Hasn't gone to trial yet, that's just now, and they're free falling. You know, posting 98% losses last quarter and stuff like that. So they needed the HTC One to be released. Now that it is, they found out that that phone has violated 50 Nokia patents. And if the courts decide that yes, you have violated in the midst of them losing CEOs left and right and top level, I don't know, man. So if you're an HTC fan, if you're someone who loves the HTC One, you're someone who loves HTC products, you better get that HTC. If you haven't gotten it already, you better buy that thing quick. Because if you don't buy it now, you may never buy it. Because once they pull that thing off the shelves, you're not going to be able to see it. That's if the lawsuit goes through. And either that or HTC just goes bankrupt, you know, in litigation. They just can't afford to stay in business. So if you're an HTC fan, I would say make sure and get that thing as quick as you possibly can, because HTC may not be here for too much longer if this keeps up. Now, speaking of big companies, Google, according to a report by VNet, Google is set to pass Apple as far as their Google Store, as far as apps, downloads and stuff like that. ZDNet said that the Google App Store downloads could surpass Apple's download by June. And a lot of people are saying, well, Google has more apps. Some of the Apple purists will argue that the Apple apps are better, you know, because Apple has such a tight rein on developers when it comes to them putting apps into the App Store, and that could be positive and negative. Positive meaning that the developers don't have to think too much about what they're going to do because the rules are set, whereas in the Google apps, you know, you have such an open platform that sometimes it can be, you know, sometimes it can be difficult to hone in on that. It's kind of like if somebody tells you gives you a topic and says, write on this story. It's easier to write when you know what the topic is, as opposed to someone just telling you, write something. You know, and so you just have it wide open like that. Sometimes that can be a little harder to do because then you have to come up with the parameters, you have to come up with the story. So some people would say, some people would argue, I'm sure the Apple purists would argue that the Apple apps are of much better quality. Some people would argue that it's not. It's just a matter of perception. But be that as it may, according to this report, the Google apps are set to outpace for the first time Apple in the Apple Store. Now the 900 million strong army of Android devices that have been activated to date, 900 million, are likely to propel Google Play Store into the pole position or first position among mobile app stores by June. Google and Apple in May announced almost in unison that they had reached key milestones for downloads in their respective stores. Google announced in May that it had reached 48 billion downloads. And I know right away, Devin has downloaded about 30 billion of those, of that 48 billion. You know what I'm saying? So we know where Google is dealing with right there. They say they reached 48 billion downloads off the back of a month that saw Android users down around 2.5 billion apps. Google approximately has about 700,000 apps in their app store available as of this month. The day before, Apple announced that since operating its app store in 2008, iOS owners had downloaded 50 billion. You see, so Google said 48, then Apple came out and said, look, we got 50 billion. You see what I'm saying? Apps that people have downloaded, excluding re-downloads and updates and stuff like that. And were doing so at a rate, according to Apple, they were doing so at a rate of 2 billion apps per month. Apple has around 850,000 apps in their app store. So Apple has more apps than Google, but according to this report, at the rate at which Google brings apps into their app store and how many Android users there are out there, Google just has to pass iOS in the app downloads and stuff like that. Now, an interesting fact about that, even though Google will have more apps downloaded, Apple has more revenue in there from their apps than Google. Now, we're going to talk more about this coming up after a break, because this is a continuing war between Google and between Apple and between the Google fanboys or the Android faithful and the iOS fanboys that swear that iOS is the best there is out there. So we're going to talk more about this coming up after the break, and just stay with us here on Tech Pulse. Yeah, another exciting Tech Pulse is right at your fingertips. So just stay right here. We're coming right back after these messages.
Audio Jungle.
Time to go back in.
Audio Jungle.
1:30.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.